You ever fall from the sky at 30,000 feet and feel more relief than fear? Yeah, me neither, until last Tuesday. The flight was supposed to be a quick return from Tokyo. Just a couple of days sealing up a satellite contract, then home in time to celebrate my second birthday. That's what we called it, my second birthday. See, 3 years ago I had my first heart attack, flatlined for 6 minutes. I came back from the brink, and Julia, my wife, started the tradition. Each year, we'd light 2 candles on the cake, one for the day I was born, and one for the day I didn't die. Cute, right? Turns out, the universe has a sick sense of humor. Flight 712 dropped out of the sky like a stone over the Pacific. I don't know if it was engine failure or divine sabotage, but the metal bird ripped open midair. Screams. Shrapnel. Then nothing but cold. Next thing I know, I'm crawling out of a mangled fuselage in the dark. 10 of us survived. 10 out of 214. They wrapped me in foil and airlifted us to the mainland. News trucks, blood-soaked shoes, and a blur of faces asking the same question. How does it feel to be alive? I didn't have the words. Not then. But I knew exactly where I needed to be. Home. Alive. Next to Julia. I should have died up there. Instead, I landed in the middle of a different kind of wreckage. I got to the house just before midnight. Lights on. Music playing. Laughter echoing from the backyard like the ghost of a party I hadn't been invited to. I didn't knock. I walked in. Balloons. Streamers. Champagne flutes half full. And heard Julia standing in our kitchen in a dress I'd never seen before, holding a glass in one hand and feeding strawberries to a man with the other. I knew that jawline before he turned. Adam Blake. My business partner. My friend. My best man at our wedding. The guy who said he'd hold down the fort while I was in Tokyo. I didn't speak. Not right away. They both turned toward me, jaws slack, eyes wide like I was a damn ghost. Julia blinked once. Twice. Then smirked. Oh, she said, tilting her head like I was an unexpected guest at a dinner party. You shouldn't have come. I stared at her. The way her voice didn't break. The way she set her glass down with surgical calm. Too bad, she said with a little shrug. It would have been better if you hadn't survived. I would have gotten the insurance money. I felt my heart stop for a second time. Not from rage. From clarity. The woman I'd come back from the dead for was already mourning me with a man who'd been using my name to sign deals and probably to share my bed. I walked forward, calm as hell, grabbed Adam by the collar. He stammered something, I don't remember what. A plea, maybe, or an insult. I didn't care. I dragged him through the house, through the hallway we painted together, past the picture of our honeymoon in Santorini, out the front door. He stumbled. I shoved him. Hard. He landed on the sidewalk, palms scraped raw, suit jacket torn. Then, bang. Loud. Sharp. Instant silence. Julia screamed behind me. Then ran. When I turned around, I saw her collapse to her knees in the front yard, hands trembling. And that's when I realized what I had done to him wasn't what you think. It wasn't a gunshot. Not from me, anyway. It came from the car across the street. Old Chevy Malibu with rusted rims, engine still running, and a flicker of cigarette smoke curling from the driver's side window. A teenager had set off a firework, some kind of bottle rocket, straight up into the night. The kind of bang that rattles glass and nerves but leaves no holes. But for a second, I thought I'd killed him. I wanted to. Not with a bullet. With the truth. Adam lay there on the sidewalk, groaning, his mouth twitching with some half-baked apology. Julia was sobbing now, finally sobbing, like the side of her precious side piece on his back had broken through the ice. But it wasn't regret. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. Fear that I knew. Fear that I was supposed to be dead. She hadn't planned for this. She had cleaned up the mess in her head, my funeral, the payout, the solemn hand she'd lay on Adam's shoulder while pretending grief for the cameras. Maybe even a beach house after 6 months of keeping up appearances. All of it evaporated the second I walked through that door. That's when she got desperate. Wait. Julia shrieked, her hands raised like I was the criminal. You don't understand. I turned slowly. Calm. Calculated. No, I said. I understand perfectly. The porch light flickered over her face, and for the first time, I noticed the details, the necklace that wasn't there last week. New heels. A tan line that didn't match our climate. She'd been somewhere, and it sure as hell wasn't grief counseling. You think I didn't notice the life insurance bump Adam signed off on? I asked. Her face froze. Yeah, I continued. 3 weeks ago. A new $5 million policy. Emergency amendment. You forged my signature. That's not true, she whispered, eyes darting between me and him. I checked the server logs from the Office VPN, sweetheart. I built the damn thing. You didn't even cover your tracks. Adam tried to sit up. Man, look, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. No kidding. I cut him off. You don't get to stab me in the back and then act like you tripped. I knelt down beside him, close enough to smell the bourbon and guilt leaking from his skin. You had everything, Adam. The company. The trust. The 10 years I spent building a life out of nothing. And you couldn't resist screwing the one person I built it for? He looked away. I stood. Julia hadn't moved. Her mascara was running now. Lipstick smudged like a clown's mouth. But she still held her chin high. You came back too early, she said softly. There it was. No more pretending. I stared at her, letting the silence stretch long and slow like the seconds before a storm. You know what burns the most? I asked. I didn't even want to go on that trip. You pushed me. Said I needed to get away. That I was too stressed. That I needed perspective. She took a shaky step back. You sent me up in that coffin with wings hoping I wouldn't come down. I didn't mean she started. You meant every second of it, I snapped. Then I did something she didn't expect. I smiled. Not the kind of smile that says, we're okay. The kind of smile that says, you're done. I'm not pressing charges, I said. Not yet. That would be too easy. Her breath caught. I turned toward the house, pulled out my phone, and dialed. Hey, it's me, I said when the voice answered. Yeah, I need that lawyer we talked about. Pull the file labeled Contingency Julia. We're going nuclear. I hung up. Then I turned to her. You took everything that mattered to me. So now I'm taking everything you thought was yours. You ever notice how betrayal doesn't just break your heart? It rebuilds it. Into something sharper. Meaner. Cleaner. By the time I stepped back into the house, my pulse was steady. The kind of calm you only get after you've bled out every last drop of trust. Julia stayed on the lawn, frozen. Adam limped off like a whipped dog, mumbling something about needing an Uber. I didn't care where he went. I just needed him gone. Inside, the party was over. Half-drunk champagne flutes, cake untouched, candles still stiff with wax. Funny, isn't it? How a celebration turns into a crime scene without a single corpse. Well, not a literal one. I poured myself a drink from the bottle they'd cracked open without me, my bottle. A 25-year-old scotch I'd been saving for a special occasion. I took a slow sip and looked around the room we used to call ours. This wasn't home anymore. It was evidence. The next morning, I paid a visit to the firm. Gibson, Langston, and Fry. High-rise, marble floors, views of the city like you're better than everyone else. Our legal team since year one. Back when Blake and Garrison Holdings was two guys in a WeWork hustling for seed money. Funny how much paperwork a law firm keeps when you're not looking. Mr. Garrison, the receptionist chirped, startled. We thought you were dead. I offered with a smile. Not yet. Is Langston in? She stammered something into the phone. Moments later, Langston himself rushed out, his silver hair a mess, tie half done. Nate, my God, we heard about the crash. We assumed. That was the plan, I said flatly. Tell me, did Julia stop by this week? Langston hesitated. Yes. She brought some revisions to the living trust. Said they were in accordance with your wishes. She forged them, I interrupted. And you didn't verify? She had your signature. She said you were in Japan. Which should have triggered a protocol, I growled. Anytime I'm overseas, you verify through direct video call. Langston swallowed. It wasn't a major change. You moved my entire estate into her name. If I died, she'd own the company outright. My patents. My IP. Everything. Langston looked like he might faint. You're going to fix it, I said, setting a flash drive on his desk. Everything you need is on there, metadata, timestamps, security logs. And if you don't fix it, I go straight to the state bar with a fraud claim. He opened his mouth, probably to grovel, but I was already walking out. One mess down. Dozens more to go. Next stop, the office. Our company's HQ sat like a glass and steel cathedral on the north side of the city. For floors of the best minds in defense tech, half of whom probably thought I was buried at sea. I strolled through the front doors like I hadn't just dodged death, betrayal, and bankruptcy in 1 week. Mr. Garrison, the security guard blinked. We weren't expecting you. No one ever does, I said, flashing my badge. My office was untouched. Cleaner than I'd left it, which meant someone had been inside. I pulled out a hidden drive from beneath the bookshelf. The real one. The untraceable one. The one Julia didn't know existed. She might have tried to take my life. She wasn't going to take my legacy. That night, I sent her a single text. The trust is void. The insurance policy is frozen. The prenup is back in effect. You've got until Friday to vacate the house. And Julia? Don't bother lawyering up. I wrote the damn contract. I didn't get a reply. Didn't expect one. She always went quiet when she was cornered. It was the same look she had on our first ski trip, when she realized she was stuck halfway down a black diamond slope with no idea how to get back up. Well, this time, there's no lift coming. The silence didn't last long. By noon the next day, Julia had called 4 times. No voicemail. Just that passive-aggressive tactic where she wants you to know she's panicking, but won't give you the satisfaction of hearing it in her voice. I didn't answer. Instead, I sent a courier to the house, my house, with an envelope containing 2 things. A copy of the original prenup, signed and notarized in blue ink. A notarized 72-hour notice to vacate the premises. She had 3 days. No more champagne-soaked parties. No more silk robes bought with my dividends. No more pretending she built any of it. I gave her everything, every tool, every advantage, and she used it like a knife between my ribs. Not anymore. That afternoon, I met with Emily Rhodes, head of PR at Blake and Garrison Holdings. Loyal, strategic, and, maybe most importantly, divorced. Nate, she said, eyes narrowing as she walked into the private boardroom, heels like gunshots against the hardwood. I was told you were dead. Almost. Well, she said, sitting. You look terrible, but in a strong, vengeance is coming sort of way. I need a narrative, I said bluntly. Controlled. Surgical. Internal or public? Both. I want it to hurt. Emily tapped a pen against her notepad. Tell me everything. So I did. The affair. The insurance policy. The forged trust documents. Adam. The betrayal. The whole damn opera. She didn't flinch. When I was done, she leaned back, exhaled slow, and said, we go 3-pronged. Financial, reputational, legal. You've got leverage. Let's make it count. I grinned. Not because I felt good. Because I felt in control. For the first time since that plane tore open over the Pacific, I wasn't the victim. I was the reckoning. That night, Julia finally cracked. She showed up at the condo I kept downtown, the one she didn't know I still paid for. I'd only been using it as a quiet place to think. Right. Avoid the noise of boardrooms and backstabbing. Now it was the war room. She banged on the door like a banshee with a broken halo. I opened it slowly. Calm. Composed. She, on the other hand, looked like someone had taken a match to her illusion. Hair undone. No makeup. Sweatpants. Real. Raw. But too late. What the hell is this, Nate? She snapped, shoving the envelope at my chest. You can read, can't you? I said, letting it fall to the floor. You're kicking me out? No. I'm reclaiming what's mine. You can crash at Adam's place. Assuming his wife hasn't changed the locks yet. She paled. That hit landed. I was scared, she whispered. You were gone. The plane. The headlines. I thought I lost you. Don't, I said, voice low. Don't twist this into grief. You threw the funeral before the flames even died out. You don't understand it. I do. I cut her off. I understand perfectly. You gambled that I'd stay dead. You lost. Her lip trembled, but I didn't care. Emotion without consequence is just theater. She could cry all she wanted. It wouldn't unwrite the insurance clause. It wouldn't delete the texts Adam foolishly synced to her cloud account. It wouldn't change what she chose. I stepped back, held the door open. She stared at me for a long moment, like she expected me to fold. To forgive. To forget. But my silence was a wall. And she knew it. Julia turned and walked away, each step slower than the last, as if she could drag out the end. But there's no soft landing when you fall from a house of cards. Adam Blake always thought he was slick. Tailored suits, fake humility, that white-toothed politician smile he'd flash in every meeting. Clients loved him. Staff feared him. He called it charisma. I called it a mask. And masks tear easy when soaked in sweat. The morning after Julia's eviction notice hit her like a brick wall, I made my next move. Quiet. Deliberate. Brutal. I walked into the Monday board meeting 10 minutes early. Half the room stopped breathing. I let them. The last time these execs saw me, I was supposedly at the bottom of the ocean. Now I was back, standing at the head of the glass table like I'd never left, because I hadn't. They had. In every way that mattered. Adam sat across from me, feigning shock, his mouth twitching as if he might vomit or confess. Honestly, I was hoping for both. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, adjusting my watch with deliberate ease. "You may have heard reports that I didn't survive the crash." I let the pause linger. Well, that was premature. A nervous chuckle rippled down the line. Except from Adam. He was sweating through his collar. His eyes darted to the HR rep, then to our general counsel. Good. Let him look for help. There wouldn't be any. "I've returned to reassume full executive authority," I continued. "Effective immediately." "Wait," Adam spoke up, voice cracking. "Nate, shouldn't we discuss this privately?" I turned slowly toward him. "Oh, we will." And then I slid the folder across the table. Inside, a hard copy of every document he'd signed in the last month under my name. Julia's forged authorization for the trust transfer. The wire request to reallocate company assets. Even the IP claim where he tried to patent my algorithm under his initials. There it was. Everything. "Gentlemen," I said, addressing the board, "my partner has committed acts that would, under any other circumstance, warrant federal investigation. But I'm feeling generous. So here's what's going to happen." I leaned forward. "Adam will resign today. Quietly. Permanently. He'll sign a non-compete so ironclad he won't be able to sell lemonade within a 5-mile radius of Silicon Valley. In return, I won't press charges." Yet, the silence was deafening. He looked around the room for a lifeline. None came. That's what happens when your power was never yours to begin with. He signed the papers 2 hours later. No lawyers. No press. Just shame. And the realization that I had outplayed him at the game he started. By Tuesday, Emily's machine was already rolling. The press release was short, sterile, and lethal. Blake and Garrison Holdings announces the departure of co-founder Adam Blake, who is pursuing new opportunities. Founder Nathaniel Garrison will reassume full operational control. Pursuing new opportunities. That's PR code for, we kicked his ass out the door and he's lucky we didn't break his kneecaps on the way down. My inbox exploded. So did Julia's. Turns out, when you strip away the facade, the socialites scatter. No more invites. No more parties. No more golden couple illusion. They thought they were the storm, but I was the lightning. That night, I went home. The real one. The one that used to be ours. She was gone. The bedroom stripped of her perfumes. The closet, half empty. A few photos still sat on the mantle, wedding pictures, mostly. I took them down, one by one. No rage. Just clarity. She didn't just break my heart. She tried to rewrite my future. But now, I was writing hers. And I'd only just begun. Revenge isn't about rage. It's about restraint. And I had waited long enough. Thursday morning, Julia's phone lit up with a series of notifications she couldn't ignore. Not from me. From the bank. Withdrawal denied. Joint account frozen. Access revoked. You see, while she was sipping martinis in my marble kitchen and moaning Adam's name in my silk sheets, I'd quietly shifted every asset that mattered. Not out of reach. Just out of hers. The first move was technical. A cascade of ownership transfers through Shellcore I'd set up years ago, back when I still believed in us, but trusted contracts more than I trusted feelings. The prenup was just the first gate. The estate trusts? Triggered to revert if infidelity was confirmed. Guess what? They were. All it took was a private investigator with a lens, a timestamp, and a little dumb luck. Adam and Julia hadn't been discreet. A few hotel receipts. Some synced iCloud images she forgot to scrub. And boom. Clause activated. The second move was surgical. I met with Martin Griggs, my family's estate attorney. Old school guy. One of the last men I trusted completely. You sure about this, Nate? He asked, after reviewing the restructure. You're cutting her out of everything. Correction, I said. She cut herself out. I'm just signing the paperwork. He nodded slowly, slid the documents toward me. One signature. And Julia's share of my estate reverted to zero. Zero. No claim to the property. No stake in the company. No slice of the residuals from the patent portfolio we built over 10 years, my sweat, her shopping. I signed. Then I went home and poured a glass of bourbon that tasted like justice. At 5:32 p.m., my phone rang. Private number. I answered. Her voice was tight, trembling beneath a thin coat of fake calm. What the hell did you do? I cleaned up the books, I said. Didn't want the IRS coming after you for income you didn't earn. You emptied our accounts, she hissed. No. I emptied my accounts. You never contributed a dime. You didn't even split groceries. Remember? Her silence was volcanic. You can't do this, Nate. I just did. She tried to pivot. Her voice softened, almost desperate. Can't we talk about this? What we had, it wasn't all fake. You're right, I said. It was worse. Because it was real. And you burned it anyway. She sniffed, swallowed, and then she snapped again. This isn't over. I smirked. Oh, it is. You just haven't hit the floor yet. I hung up. That night, the final blow landed. A notice arrived via certified mail. To Julia. From the Preston Foundation. Her favorite nonprofit. Her social ladder of choice. They were revoking her board seat, citing recent personal matters that conflict with our organizational values. Her reputation was radioactive, and I hadn't said a word to the press. That's the thing about falling from grace. It doesn't take a push, just exposure. And she'd stripped herself bare. But the part that really drove the knife? That came the next day. She showed up at the company gala, uninvited, dressed like she still mattered. Eyes puffy, smile fake, desperate to prove she hadn't lost everything. And me? I stood beside someone new. Not a date, not a rebound, just someone real. Julia saw the ease in my posture, the lightness I hadn't worn in years. She saw that I was free. And for the first time, she looked small. Because she knew. She hadn't just lost me. She'd lost the version of herself that only existed when she stood next to a man like me. Closure is a funny thing. Some people think it comes from apology. Some think it needs forgiveness. For me, it came in the form of a manila envelope. Delivered, signed, and sealed with the final nail in the coffin of us. Divorce papers. Clean. Simple. Brutally efficient. There was no grand confrontation. No last-minute plea. Just a courier knocking on Julia's overpriced condo door at 9:04 a.m., handing her a future she no longer had a say in. The settlement? Nothing. Zero spousal support. No property claims. No slice of the business. The prenup, reinforced by her affair, locked the vault and swallowed the key. And the clause I'd added back in year one, the moral breach trigger? That was the quiet little guillotine no one ever sees until it's halfway through their neck. Emily called me later that afternoon. Press is nosing around, she said, her voice clipped but satisfied. Rumors of the affair are circulating. Do you want to get ahead of it? No, I said. Let them whisper. All right, she replied. But if you want to sink her, say the word. I paused. Thought about it. Thought about the look on Julia's face at the gala. The hollow smile. The eyes that scanned every room, realizing no one was coming to her defense. No need, I said. She's already doing the job for me. We hung up, and for the first time in months, I exhaled. That evening, I went back to the old house. The one I'd built from scratch. Not just with wood and nails, but with midnight emails, 16-hour workdays, and love letters I used to write her on napkins. It was empty, but it wasn't lonely. I walked through each room like a man reclaiming land that had been stolen. Not just a house, a life. In the master bedroom, the closet was bare except for a single garment bag she'd left behind. I didn't open it. Didn't care. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a scotch, looked at the fridge where her yoga schedule used to hang. Now there was just a magnet. It said, "Do what sets your soul on fire." Irony. I took it down and tossed it in the trash. Some fires don't warm you. Some just burn everything in their path. I got a call the next day from Adam. Blocked number. I answered anyway. He sounded hollow, like a man standing in the ashes of a life he thought he deserved. "Nate," he croaked. "Look, I just want to say I'm sorry." I let the silence stretch. "You still there?" "I'm here," I said. "But I don't need your apology." He cleared his throat. I lost everything." "Good," I said. Then I hung up. Let him sit with that. That weekend, I packed the last of my things and left the house for good. Sold it to a retired firefighter and his wife for half of what it was worth. Told them I was in the mood for a clean break. They cried when they got the keys. Said they'd never dreamed of affording a place like this. I smiled. Because in a world full of takers, I'd finally given something to someone who deserved it. I didn't just survive a plane crash. I survived her. And what came out of the wreckage wasn't a broken man. It was the version of me I'd buried to keep her comfortable. That man. He was back now. And he had nothing left to lose. It's not the fall that defines you. It's what you build in the ashes. After the dust settled, after the divorce decree came through and the world stopped whispering about what she did, I got to work. Not at the company. Not at the old house. At myself. For the first time in over a decade, I wasn't carrying her expectations like a yoke across my shoulders. No more, don't say that at dinner. Or, why can't you be more like him? Or, maybe you should dress more like a CEO. I didn't want to be a damn mannequin. I wanted to be alive. It started with the journal. Leather-bound. Thick pages. Something about putting pen to paper made it real. I wrote about the crash. The way the metal groaned before it split. The way strangers held hands without knowing each other's names. The way silence followed screaming, like even gravity ran out of breath. I wrote about waking up half buried in wreckage, blood in my mouth, ribs cracked, and thinking, she's going to miss me. What a joke. She didn't miss me. She missed the payout. Next came the foundation. I used the cash she thought she'd inherit, every penny of it, to launch the Phoenix Clause, a nonprofit that helps people escape financial abuse. Because not all betrayal leaves bruises. Some wears a wedding band and hides in spreadsheets. We gave grants to women whose husbands cut off their bank accounts. We helped men whose wives ran up dead in their names. We funded legal counsel, emergency housing, and forensic accountants to trace the money manipulators tried to hide. Every time we cut a check, I imagined Julia watching the zeros fly out of her would-be empire and into the hands of people who actually deserved it. Poetic. Perfect. Personal. Then came the letter. Not from her. From her mother. Handwritten, in shaky cursive. Nathan, I don't expect forgiveness. I raised a daughter who thought status was more valuable than character. I see now what that cost you. I just want you to know, not all of us were blind. Funny. I didn't even hate her mom. She was just another byproduct of the same broken mold. I never wrote back. Didn't need to. Some apologies are better left unanswered. I started running again. 3 miles a day at first. Then 5. Then 10. Not to get fit. To feel free. The road didn't care who I used to be. Didn't judge me for believing in someone who sold me out for a soft life and a silk-lined lie. It just waited. Step after step. Like a quiet promise, you're not done yet. Then I met Sam. Short for Samantha. She wasn't glamorous. Didn't walk into the room like she owned it. She walked in like she belonged in it. We met at a vet's benefit dinner. She was laughing at something that probably wasn't funny, and I realized I hadn't heard real laughter in years. She didn't ask what I did. She didn't know who Julia was. She liked bourbon neat, read crime novels, and swore when she got excited. We talked for hours. And when she touched my hand, it wasn't a guide or guilt me. It was just there. Simple. Honest. I didn't fall in love that night. But I stopped resenting the idea that I could. And that was enough.